the attributes of our Rahman Jalla Jalaluhu wa Ta'ala fi Ula. So we read about 6 of the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are mentioned in Allah's mighty book, existence, and that is the essential attribute. And then 5 that are called as-sifat as-salbiya, is attributes of negation. They negate things that are unbecoming of Allah's greatness and magnificence, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they are beginninglessness, his dissimilarity to things that are created in time, and his existence, subhanahu, through himself, and everything other than him being entirely impoverished and in need of him. And oneness. This beginninglessly existing through himself, being dissimilar to the creation, and oneness. These are attributes that negate things from Allah that are unbecoming of Allah's magnificence and greatness. And now he's mentioning an attribute, the 7th attribute, his qudra, that Allah is all powerful. He has power over everything. It is an attribute that exists through the essence of Allah. Through it, Allah brings into existence everything He wills in accordance to Allah's will and knowledge. From the greatest of that is tawfiq, His creating in us the ability to obey, and faith. These are from Allah said, Allah created 7 heavens, and from the earths, the likes of them. The command descends between all of those so that you know that Allah has power over all things. So that we can perceive this knowledge and this reality and be guided away from every type of imagination and misguidance, that Allah has power over every single thing. And if we know that Allah has power over everything, we would depend upon Him in everything. And if we know that everything other than Him is capable, in reality, power is His alone, and He has power over every single thing. Know that Allah has power over every single thing. So the author said that qudra is an attribute that is existent, beginningless, existing through Allah's essence. Through it, Allah brings every possibility into existence or removes it in accordance to will, whether that is a general thing or a component, a body, or an attribute. And he said, and also this bringing every possible thing into existence encompasses things and everything that occurs from us or to us. These are Allah's actions and through Allah's power, and we have no independence, nor does our abilities have any independence, but rather Allah distinguish between things that we have voluntary choice related to or things that we don't. And he said, so for example, a voluntary action, he could lift this up, put this down, carry this, and there's a difference between that and a palsy, for example, that occurs due to an illness. That is a motion that is not voluntary. So we must differentiate between both types of actions. And our accountability is connected to our voluntary actions. And he said so that this is related to what Allah has given us a choice in, and our or an ability, excuse me, an ability, and that is metaphorical. Through it, the person is able to do actions or refrain from actions. And he said, Allah does not order anything except that we have an ability to perform it, and he doesn't forbid us anything save that we can refrain from it. Allah does not charge any soul save with what was within its capacity. And we said that he and the author, he makes a subtle distinction, and he says that through the power, it's possible that things be manifested. And he said that there's a subtlety, though, that actually the effect is through the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah himself is the cause, you could say. And there's an attribution, there's a connection of it to his kudra, but not meaning that that attribute independently works. The one who works in reality is Allah, Jalla Jalaluhu. And the divine power, it connects to possibilities, guidance, misguidance, rectitude, corruption. And being healthy or afflicted with illnesses and things such as this. All of these are the sphere of the attribute of power. However, the real doer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She said, so the one that does everything is Allah. So some of the laity, they say that power acts, the power acts. And that is a mistake for them to say that. He said, however, if they know that in reality Allah is the one who does, then that is excused from them, essentially. He said that the attribute exists through Allah's essence, and the real doer is Allah. And anyone that believes that the attribute exists without Allah, then that is a disbeliever. And he said, like someone who believes that fire burns through itself, or food satiates through itself. And he said, so the believers must know that anything that Allah wants to bring forward, it happens, or delay, it happens. Nothing happens independently through itself whatsoever. He said, this is what is attended by the Shaykh here. And he's making a subtle distinction, but it's very important. So what's obligatory is that we believe that Allah has a power that connects to all possibilities, and the opposite is impotence, and far be it from Allah. Inability is an attribute of creatures. And the proof, the rational proof that he's characterized by power that connects to every possible thing, is that this world exists and was created in time. It was preceded by inexistence, as we've previously clarified. And everything that has been created in time, it must have a maker necessarily, and that maker must have power by which bringing that thing into existence or into non-existence is possible. And there's no influence of the power without that. And if that were not the case, then Allah would not be powerful, and Allah would be without power, incapable, waliyadu billah. And were that were some of this world to exist, no, excuse me, and due to things existing in this world, that necessarily indicates the divine power. And essentially that is the explanation. And Allah teaches those whom He wills from the secrets of His wisdom to those whom He wills of prophets and angels. And He said, no one encompasses Allah's will in any motion or stillness except Allah. He has the comprehensive power and proof. He is Al-Hakim, who organized everything in a great way. And He manifests affairs in the outward world in to an extent that many minds cannot encompass. However, those minds that are used well, they know that everything has a wisdom, even if they don't comprehend the wisdom of a given thing. And through that, they're guided through guidance and light. And Sayyidina Nabi Ibrahim, he asked once for Allah to show him His justice among people in this world. So Allah revealed to him, go to such and such place and observe the river and what's happening at that river. And He said, I'll show you examples of the secrets of my wisdom among people. So he went and He ordered him not to speak, not to do anything, meaning not to intervene in what was happening. He saw a young man. He came and he brought some money and took off his clothes and went and did ghusl, and then came out and got on his horse and forgot his purse in which there was money. And Allah ordered him not to speak, so he watched. So then there was another young man who came and stole that purse. And then there was an old man who came after that and then took off his clothes and did ghusl. And then the first young man who forgot his purse, he came back with his horse, and he said to this old man, he said, where's the purse that had my money in it? He said, I didn't see it. He said, you're lying. No one came after me except you. He said, you're the one who took it. He said, I'm not the one who took it. So then he said, you're a liar, and he killed him. And the Prophet, he was surprised. He said, oh my Lord, one person stole and the other was killed wrongfully. And then he said, how is that? Allah revealed to him. He said that old man had killed the father of the other young man. He murdered him and no one knew. So today, I allowed the son to take the revenge for his father. And the father of that young man had stolen something from the father of the other young man who took the purse. And he said, so today I enabled this man to take the right of his father. And it was the exact same amount. And then this other one, he said, glory to you. No one encompasses your wisdom except you. And he said, everything is just in Allah's wisdom, though no one encompasses Allah's justice. So the Prophet ﷺ would say, Allah decrees and does as He wills. And if there's something that we're pleased with in the world, the Prophet ﷺ taught us to say, glory to you, there's no life except the life of the hereafter. And to consign affairs to Allah, Allah knows better. In all affairs, we're pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree, Allah's judgment, and we ask Allah for tawfiq. Surely Allah knows best, and He is the most merciful and most generous. And there are wonders that are indescribable and cannot be described by His modality in Allah's power, that which cannot be expressed verbally, and no one encompasses Allah's power except Him. And then after that, He mentions
فكل ما علم أنه يكون أو لا يكون فذلك مراده جل وعلا فلا يقع في
He
ملك
said,
تعالى
everything
إلا
that
ما
Allah
أراد.
knows
هذا هو الملك
is or is not, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will.
الإرادة والمتقابلات ستة: الوجود والعدم، المقادير والصفات والأزمنة الأمكنة والجهات، هذه كلها يخصص الله بها ما يشاء بالإرادة، فالممكن يقبل
And he said,
كل واحد
there
منها
are six
قبول ما
things by
يشاء
which
من
Allah
وجوده أو
specifies
عدمه،
through His will:
فحينما يكون موجودا أو معدوما
existence,
فهو
non-existence,
يخصص بإرادته.
quantities, attributes, times, places, and directions. Allah,
المقادير
and neither of them is more likely. The length of a thing, the shortness of a thing, its color, and so Allah specifies those through will, and none of them is more likely than the other. Something happening in this time or another time, us existing in this world, is from the traces of Allah's greatness. Which creature, O humanity, or other than humanity, determined that we would exist in this time? I ask you for one of them. Which one decreed that we would exist in this time? He said, those who believe that they're advanced and developed in their civilization, did they determine the time in which they were born, in which they existed in this world? All of that is through the power of Al-Qahar, and they themselves are proofs of his power. None of them chose his land, his mother, his father, or the time in which he would be born. You don't see this? From where did you come? And this Qahar surrounded you from every aspect, and then you deny that. Allah says, has a time not come to the human being in which he was not even something mentioned? He said, none of us, young or old, some with technology, or like those who went to the moon as they claim, none of them did this. They didn't choose their time, their place, their mother, their father. All of them are dominated by this power. So then how could we deny this power and oppose his commands? That was only by khidlan, with the other billah ta'ala. We seek refuge in Allah from that. And those are ones who did not use their mind properly in this world. We praise Allah for Islam. As you've given us Islam, increase us. As you favored us with faith, increase us in it. As you've given us wellness, increase us in it. As you've given us lifespan, bless our lifespan, O most merciful. Through this, Allah He specifies what He wills. So, for example, existence rather than non-existence. And neither of them is more likely. But Allah is the one who specified, yukhassis. He is the one who forms you in the wombs as He wills. Our complexion is from Him. It's not by our choice. Our length and width is similarly. None of us said, I'll be created in this time and I will be this tall. It's not by your choice or of your political party or any organization. It's the will of the Creator. For you and them, Allah creates your being tall or short, your complexion, the place in which you will exist, the time in which you will exist. There's no God other than Him. There, in every single thing, there is a sign. There is a sign that indicates that He is one.
ويخصص بالمقدار المخصوص الطول والقصر والتوسط بينهما بدلا عن سائر المقادير التي يقبلها الجرم على السواء، ويخصصه بصفة مخصوصة بدلا عن مقابلتها. قد يقول بعضهم أحيانا نستخدم بعض المواد.
He said some of them says
حجم الفاكهة مثلا ونوسع قدرها. That
if they use a certain substance, they can make a fruit, for example, bigger. And he said, so for example, making that substance a causal means to that, Allah did that, not you. And he said, you might use any of these causal means, and the fruit not occur as you wish it. And he said, so the substance does not have has an independent influence, nor do you have an independent will. Allah is the one. He said, not you, not any corporation, not any device. And he said, so you should exist beneath Allah's power.
نريد بدل هذه المادة وحدة ثانية مادة تفعل نفس المفعول. طلع تحرك.
And he said, so you who claims to have power and ability, rather than using this substance that is a causal means of that, make it another substance that affects it. And he said, that we can't change the causal means that Allah has organized, nor can we create an effect independently. Surely the human being transgresses by seeing himself as independent. No one is free from need, not an atheist, a believer, an unbeliever. All of us are beneath Allah's power and Allah's disposal. When the human being believes that he is free from need, he's istaghna, he transgresses. So, for example, Pharaoh, when he was about to drown, he said, I believe there's no God other than the one in whom the children of Israel believe. And he said, after that, you become, and he said, for example, before that, I don't know of you having any deity other than me. But when he got ready to die, he said, there's no God other than the one that Moses and Banu Israel believe in. Everything ended in one instant. And Allah said, now you say this, and you were disobedient before. So how very great is the delusion of the human being. Perishes the insan from how very ungrateful he is. From what thing did he create? From La ilaha illallah. We praise Allah for the blessing of faith. May Allah increase us in the blessings of faith. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may designate for something a specific attribute rather than its opposite, like blackness versus redness versus whiteness, or creating something in this time, this day, an earlier time or a later time, and also the time of death. Allah said, when their final hour comes, they can't bring it forward or back. Said so for someone existing in one place versus Iraq, or on this side of the river, and this is or that America or this place. Allah designates these things as He wills. And the proof of that rationally is that were Allah not to be willing, He would have been compelled. And were Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again not willing, He would have been compelled. And His will, and His will, the proof of His power connecting to every possible thing has proceeded. And he said that from the Quran, the proof is verses such as Surah Yunus 99, were your Lord to will, everyone in the world would have believed. And the author says there's no difference between al-mashi'ah and al-irada, that both of them we translate as will. So if you say masha'Allah or ma'aradallah, it means the same thing. He said, we must believe that everything that is brought forth from non-existence to existence is created, and Allah has power over it, and it exists in a conformity to Allah willed. And Allah, prior to creating the heavens and the earth, Allah willed that this gathering in this mosque would happen. So and so and so and so would attend. They'd come in at this time and leave in that time, sit in this position. All of that was determined prior to the creating of the heavens and the earth. He said it's like a recording that's playing out exactly as Allah has willed, without anything being brought forward or out back. Praise to Allah who brought us together in faith and Islam and love for Allah Ta'ala. And there are Muslims here that the people have allegiance to because they're from the offspring of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah made all of this a cause of his pleasure and nearness to him and his messenger, and being resurrected with his messenger. And Allah brought us together among those whom love one another for Allah, visit one another for Allah, sit with one another for Allah. May Allah grant us that, get us to travel on the best ways, accept us as we are. We ask Allah to turn with his noble countenance to us. We ask you this by your mercy, O most merciful, and your generosity, O most generous. And he's making dua for those that preceded of Sultan as-Sada, and Imam Muhammad bin Isa Termez Hakim Termez, and all of the elect of the believers and the general believers, and the parents of those who are present, particularly, and the dead of all dead Muslims in general. With Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. صلى الله عليه وسلم الحمد لله وصحبه وسلم. يا ربنا اعترفنا بأننا اقترفنا وأننا أسرفنا على لظى أشرفنا، فتب علينا توبة تغسل لكل حوبة، واستر لنا العورات وآمن الروعات، واغفر لوالدينا ربي ومولودينا والأهل والإخوان وسائر الخلان والمسلمين محبة وجيرة أو صحبة والمسلمين أجمع، وجودا منا لا باكتساب منا بالمصطفى الرسول كل سولي، بالمصطفى الرسول نحظى بكل سول، بالمصطفى الرسول نحظى بكل سول. صلى وسلم ربي عليه عد الحب وآله وصحبه عداد غش السحب، والحمد لله في البدء والثناء. الحمد لله بكم الحمد لله رب العالمين. تقبل الله منا.